My father said, you like saxophone? I said, yeah. He said, okay, you're going to study it. I said, why? He said, somebody left one here. And from there, I took lessons, and I went down to New York, and I played with bands. And by that, I got into show business because I started to see shows. I started to play for shows. I remember the first sketch I ever did. I was playing at the Anderson Hotel, and there was a guy named, a comic named Jackie Michaels. He was a burlesque comic. And he asked the band, he says, hey, look, can anybody help us out here? We got a sketch we want to do. I said, sure, I'll help you. You know, I wanted to be in the... He said, all right, we're going to do the mind reader sketch. You know what that is? I said, no. And I went on, I said, and I was all dressed up. I said, he said, what is this, an egg or a tomato? And I said, it's a tomato. He said, wrong, it's an egg. And bang, he hits me with the egg. It goes all over my clothes. I take the blindfold off, and I look at this guy, and I go, what are you, some kind of... And I went after this guy. Well, the audience went crazy because I was going after him for real. He jumped off the stage. I was running around after, come over here, you go. I'll show you. And see what this is? And I grabbed him. I said, what is this, an egg or a tomato? And the people laughed. So that was the first thing I ever did. But then I went into a Broadway show. It's called Make My Manhattan. And I went in there. I was supposed to do 2 numbers. It was a review. And I wound up doing 12 numbers out of the 21 numbers that they had in the show. As soon as we were playing the show, all of a sudden Max came to me and said, Sid, would you like to do television? I said, what's that? Television, you know. I said, no, television only goes from here to New Jersey, and then that's the end of it, you know. No, it goes to Chicago. Oh, yeah? Yeah, it goes by coaxial cable, goes to Chicago. Oh, well, that's big. What kind of a show? You want a half-hour show, an hour show? That's the way it was. This is 1949. Or an hour and a half. So I looked at Max. Max looked at me, and I said, let's go for the hour and a half. Little did I understand anything about television. Who's going to write it for an hour and a half? It was Mel Tolkien and Lucille Callan, and then we got in Mel Brooks. That was the very beginning. And we started to do the show. It was called the Admiral Broadway Review. After 19 shows, they canceled. So they canceled out, and I said, and NBC said, don't worry, you'll be on again the beginning of next season. We're taking over. They're going to do the show. They're going to present shows. And I got people like Imogene to work with. It was like a glove, because she knew what I was going to do. She anticipated me, and she knew if I found something in the performance, she would let me ride with it. Howie was a wonderful sight comedian. You know, he was wonderful, and he could climb all over me and go over here. And Carl was a wonderful, foil for me and he was a great comedian himself. You know, to be a straight man, you got to be a very good comedian. I would let Carl get a laugh, or let Howie get a laugh, or let Imogene get the laugh, because it doesn't make any difference who gets the laugh. Is the show funny? When the show's funny, what's the difference? It's my show. Doing a show live on television is a different animal altogether than doing it today. I mean, on tape that's like relaxing. That's like going on vacation. But I guess everybody makes up their own craziness. One of the sketches was where I did a strong arm act with Imogene, you know, with a leotard and the wrist bracelets and big and long hair and gold lame boots, you know, and I'm going out. And I go into to the wings, and I look out, and it's a bus sketch. Well, it's like the worst nightmare any actor could have. I got this gold lame boots. I said, pants, shirt, coat, come on. And I walked out, and I sat down on the bench. How are you? Good morning, yeah. And I crossed my legs. It was a lovely morning, yeah. And you see the gold lame boots right there. And Carl looked and he said, gee, those are great boots. They're beautiful. I said, how much are they? No, you don't want them. I had to talk. You don't want them because you got to shave them every morning. You got to feed them at night. It's too much trouble. So by doing that, they thought it was in the sketch. They thought it was all gone. Monday would come in around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we'd talk a little bit. Did you see this show? You saw that? Oh, you saw the Sunday night show. You saw this, you saw that. And then we get down, and we said, did anybody go anywhere? Because that's how we got our material. What happened to you? What happened? Anything happened to you? We did things that happened to everyday people. Everybody had their own specialty. When you wanted a wild line, something off the wall, Mel Brooks, he would come in with it. If you wanted very fancy dialogue and really sharp dialogue, men like Larry Gelbart. Oh, and Neil could write wonderful situations and tremendous, wonderful dialogue. And we had a guy called Mel Stewart, who just was on the typewriter. He did Bye Bye Birdie, he did 42nd Street, he did quite a few shows. And he was just on the typewriter. I remember one time, he was a professor and expert on love. You believe in love at first sight. I mean, when you see somebody, you fall in love. Oh, yes. I had the experience myself. I remember I was on a train, and I looked out, and another train passed us, and I saw a woman in the dining car. She was going like this, and she looked out, and I fell in love with her. So what I did, I got in Chicago, I got on the train, I went back to New York so I could see her. She coming here. So I went back, and I looked at her, and there she was. And at that second, I knew she wasn't for me. We had one day rehearsal. And the day we rehearsed it, that's the day we shot it. They would block all the production numbers, get them all blocked up, and learn how to shoot those. Then I would come in with the sketches, and we'd do a loose blocking. Then we'd do a tighter blocking. And after the dress rehearsal, then it was performance. So you worked about 18 hours that day. We did a takeoff of, we call it Gallipacci, and we did the arias. I'm at the makeup table, I got the pencil, and I'm going to draw the tear, you know, and the pencil breaks, but it made a line. So I took the brush, you know, the makeup brush, put some black, and I continued the line, then I drew another line while I'm singing. Then I put another line across here, another line across here, and I started to play tic-tac-toe on my face, from nowhere. When you're looking at somebody, you can tell when they go up, because they're saying, I tell you what we'll do, you come back here, and I'll say, I told her to, you have to make the phone call. You have to make a phone call and then come back. That's what you'll do. So we helped each other out. I remember I forgot somebody's name when I was in there. I said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the shows. Our guest star tonight is a man, and I couldn't remember his name, right on the air. And I'm talking. Finally, somebody understands. I don't know. And he's looking at me, and they hold up the Basil Rathbone, Mr. Basil Rathbone. And at the end of the show, he said, thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all the staff and Mr. Sid Chase. I said, even, okay. While I was driving there, or when I was being driven there, or when I was going in, I was always thinking about it. Well, we got this show, now what are we going to do next week? How are we going to do next week, you know? And we didn't have time to work on next week because we were all so busy fixing this week. We only had 3 days to write it. Wednesday, the show was written. Thursday, we put the show up on its feet for the first time and ran it through. And a lot of times when you're from the page to the stage, it doesn't work. I got into the habit of drinking, and that was a very big dependent on me. And it also started to tell. And I started to take sleeping pills with the booze because they said, well, let's cut down on the whiskey if you can give him some pills, you know, the sleeping pills. And I tried the sleeping pills. It was great, you know, I went to sleep. But after a while, it didn't work. So I used to take the pills with the booze, and that worked. And that's very dangerous. NBC said, Sid, I tell you what, we're going to break this show up. I said, why? Because what they had Max Liebman, who was a great producer. They had Imogene Coca, who was a big star now. And they had me. I said, it's got a winning combination. What are you breaking things up? What for? 4 years, that's it? That's the way they thought. We get 3 shows. I said, what are you talking about? You break this up? Hey, that's enough. You know, the ratings are not that great anymore. And it was a great rating. We were still in the top 10, and they took it off. I took the writers with me. Mel Brooks went with Imogene. And unfortunately, she only lasted half a season. And I went on to do Caesar's Hour for 3 more seasons. And we did this thing about the guy who's a great silent movie star. And he's talking, and they're going to make a movie now. They're going to make a talkie. I haven't said a word this whole time. They said, you realize, Rex, what sound will mean to you? And I said, at last, the world will hear my voice. They'll hear Rex Handsome talk. I'll talk. It was the end of live television. 1957 was over. And it didn't matter what you were doing. You know, if it wasn't on tape, because on tape, they found they could control it. And when you put it on tape, you lose the spontaneity. And that was the end of it, you know. That was the end of the era. 1978, I was up in Canada. I was doing a dinner theater was doing Last of the Red Hot Lovers. This is the first time I went on the floor and I could not remember a line. And that scared the hell out of me. Because I was on the floor. You know what a terrible feeling to be on the floor and not be able to remember your lines and people feeding your lines all over the place. And I looked in the mirror and I said, Sid, you want to live or you want to die? It's as simple as that. There's no gray area now. And I said, I want to live. And I upped it for it. I went to the hospital. I cleaned up, and that was the end of that. You learn nothing from success. You learn how to be obnoxious, you learn how to be arrogant, you learn how to be boop-boop-a-doop. But you learn nothing. When you had a failure, then you say, whoops, wait a minute. What did I do wrong? What happened here? And you learn what not to do again. I always pushed. And that pushed them, you know, especially in a certain time frame, you got to get it all in. It was a love-terror arrangement. It was a lot of terror and a lot of love.